Welcome, travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Lewanika, and this is Tabletop Journeys, where we will be your not so humble guides on the quest for RPG adventures.
Welcome, everybody, to tonight's episode. Excited to be coming to you back again in video format. It's been a couple weeks since you've been able to go ahead and see our smiling faces. And of course, by our, I mean myself. I'm Josh Newton, joined as always by my co-host, Lewanika Miller. Lewanika, how the hell are you, sir? It's nice to see you again. It's been, our recording schedule's been weird lately. It's been weird.
Yes, very weird, but mostly because we've been extremely productive, hyper productive, one might say. Whenever I've talked about our current schedule for writing and getting
Yeah.
things going, moving the needle on all of our various projects and such, everybody's like, "You are all insane." Like I do not
Yeah.
understand what you're doing. So
Yeah.
so it's been a crazy recording schedule, but it's been very fruitful because
Yeah.
we've really got the creative juices going. I've played in a couple games. I've run a couple games. We've gotten great work done on our writing project that we've been working on. So it's been a really great couple of weeks, and I'm glad to be back in studio, ready to go.
Yeah.
Heck, I just kind of rearranged my whole space here and
Yeah.
got it going in like 3 hours, which
Yeah.
normally is not something I'm successful in doing. So,
Not
you
successful at
know,
all, exactly, yeah. No, so
yeah.
let's go ahead and touch on that point real quick here about kind of what our writing schedule has been like. So, obviously, as you alluded to, Lunica, our productive schedule or production schedule is nutsy cuckoo. Like, it's absolutely, wackadoodle. But for everybody out there that's listening, the thing that is most exciting is that, two things actually that I think are super exciting. For one, our Make 100 project, the books have arrived. They are in their envelopes. Their envelopes have mailing labels on them, and I'm bringing them to the post office first thing tomorrow morning, so they'll be mailed out. So, in fact, by the point that you are hearing this episode, you will have your copy of the Make 100 book in your hand if you ordered one. And if you haven't ordered one yet, you should go ahead and do that. The other thing that, of course, is super exciting is that Project Kraken, the project that we talked about back in July, the adventure that we co-wrote kind of live on air during Kraken Week at the beginning of July. That project is just about done. In fact, we have made some decisions about even how we're going to release it, so that you might be interested in out there. So the first thing is that it is going to be released on DriveThruRPG. We've been releasing our content a lot on DriveThruRPG lately, some smaller projects, just to kind of get our account there set up and get things rolling out there. Kind of some companion stuff to go along with our YouTube videos. But then beyond that, so Project Kraken is going to be released. It's a 3-chapter adventure called Sea of Fire, and the first chapter is going to be released first. And the first chapter will be pay what you will. I think we're going to set a price of like 99 cents or something on it. But you'll be able to download the first chapter, download and play the first chapter, pay what you will on DriveThru. And then if you want to go ahead and play the rest of the adventure, I think we're kind of still going back and forth on what the price point is going to be on that. But the rest of the other 2 chapters of the adventure, and all the goodies that kind of go along with it, will be coming out about a week after the first chapter there. So that will be very, very soon. The first chapter is in fact done and in layout. We have the alpha version of the PDF complete on that, and then we'll be finishing up the layout for chapters 2 and 3 shortly. So really excited to be rolling ahead with that project. Hoping to have that out here in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and just so our audience and those who have backed our factions book, we have not lost sight of that
Nope.
throughout the process of writing the Make 100 book, which Josh is about to mail. Throughout the process of creating and brainstorming and then writing and finalizing Project Kraken, we have also been making great strides with the factions book.
Yep.
To be specific, I believe we have the primary writing has been done since beginning of summer. The
Yep.
editing process really came to slow down a bit. We are back on track with getting things edited. I think if I remember at our last session, we completed the edits the primary edits on 4 chapters,
Yeah,
I
4
think.
chapters. We got 4 of them
We're
done. Yep. So
Yeah,
we've
we've
done it.
got 4 chapters done. They will be ready for proofreaders or going to proofreaders in the next week or so as we work on the remaining edits on the chapters. And some of those are
Yep.
actually fairly fast edits because we've
Yep.
actually been editing at
Kinda chipping
many of
away.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are making great strides. We have not been sleeping on any of our
Nope.
projects. We just had to close out some of the smaller ones so that we can
Exactly.
refocus 100% energy on
Yep.
the larger ones.
Yep, and we're really excited. I mean, we have said from the very beginning that we are very excited about that factions book, and really looking forward to getting it out in people's hands. It is going to be a big book. It is 9 chapters of lore and content, deep dive information, the kind of stuff that storytellers are really going to be able to sink their teeth into, and that players are going to find interesting concepts and things like that that they're going to want to play out of. So, really excited to be getting that book to people. It is we're doing everything possible in our power to make it worth the wait, and we recognize that that the wait is there. Yeah, I'm just really glad to be making some significant progress on that and getting that done. So yay. On to tonight's episode. So we have been, for the last couple of weeks, we have been palling around with our friend Sergio from the D&D Lorecast, somebody that you're going to be hearing more of on this channel. We'll get more into that in a little bit here. But also we've been palling around with Sergio and Pete Saloom from Pear Tree Studios, playing through his module, Shadows of the Sacred Hills, which is a Savage Worlds module. We've been playing through it for the last couple of weeks here on the show here. And tonight, Lewanika and I are going to talk about that a little bit, talk about that experience a little bit here. So there's the book cover there. I popped up there. It's available for purchase. You can check it out on Drive-Thru RPG. So Lewanika, why don't you go ahead and start with us tonight? Overall impressions of Shadows of the Sacred Hills, and what you thought about that experience? Short of the fact that playing with Sergio was stinking amazing.
Granted,
Yeah.
and bless your heart for stealing my thunder.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Hey, that's what I'm
Yeah.
here for.
I really had a blast with this adventure. Of the two of us, I'm the one who had Savage Worlds experience,
Correct.
so I was much better aware of the rules. But I got much smoother at the rules throughout this process, which is not in any way a down on what I've played before. It's just that um, the foreknowledge and what we were doing here really came together in a way that, like, oh, okay, so it is. This is the kind of game that now I am not just good at playing it or having fun playing the game. I'm very close to being at the point where, as long as I get a core rule book, which I'm working on very soon, I would be able to run this game.
Yep.
And I think, and that is a great way. Not only would I be able to, I would like to. Pete is working on other Savage Worlds projects. I have one of them here in hand also.
Yep.
Uh, and uh, and Josh did not mention it, but when you do get these on drive-through, they are also available print on demand. So
Yep.
uh, I chose to do that because the strongest likelihood is these are games that I'll be running at my local store or at a convention at some point in the future.
Yep.
So I wanted to have the hard copy available to me. Just a grand time.
Yeah.
The rule system never got in the way of the role play, and in fact many elements of the rule system enhanced the role play
Yeah.
and really fed the nuance of the game itself. So this
Yeah.
was certainly written by somebody who is not just good at writing story, but they're also good at writing adventures, and they understand the system. Those three
Yeah.
pillars are important for an adventure, especially if it's the non-biggest elephant in the room game. You
Yeah.
have to have somebody who understands the system so that their story works with it. And
Yep.
this, hats off.
Yeah, as somebody who had never played Savage Worlds before coming into this episode, I absolutely agree with your point that the mechanics never got in the way of the role play. And we have all played those games where the rules are so complicated or so particular, maybe not complicated, but particular, that it slows down gameplay. And that certainly did not happen. I think that it is a fair statement to say that between Sergio, yourself, and me, we put this module through its paces. We and have not read the module. I will fully admit that I did not read through the module, but I listened back through the gameplay again this last time, and there is a point where I wonder how much of the stuff that we were uncovering and the things that we were doing were in the module versus Pete having to go ahead and riff because we were going off on wackadoodle directions. Like, we'd pretty much solved what we thought he was pointing us towards pretty early in the gameplay, and then spent a long time not going in that direction, making sure that we were right and making sure that we weren't missing anything.
Yep.
And Pete, to his credit, is so good at running this adventure that I never knew during gameplay how much of it was module and how much of it was not. And I'm still even listening back through. I'm like, I'm still not sure if it's all in there or not. I don't know if every element, like, the interaction with kind of like the town badass that was, that we had to go ahead and had the big rally outside of his house with the pitchforks and the torches and the whole 9 yards. And like, there was all that scenario. And so I was never really sure how much of this was in versus not, how far were we deviating from kind of the story within the module. And so that's a huge credit to Pete's gameplay, first of all, but also a huge credit to the amount of space that exists in this module to tell fantastic stories, regardless of where your players go. This game, this particular module is so full of exciting setting that there's tons of fertile ground for your players to pick at.
Yeah. This is an adventure module. This is an adventure module that is, how many pages is this? I'm going to flip through real quick to see the page count. It's a 24-page module, including the pre-gen characters that come with the module, right? So this is not a tome.
No.
But this 24 pages this town could very well be a campaign setting.
Absolutely.
That's how good it was. And if I were to hazard a guess, I would say the first thing we did when we got off the train at the beginning of the adventure, when we went to see a certain someone, and I'm not giving that detail because I want people to go listen to the episode.
Yep.
And if it was in the book, I want players to go play the episode and GMs to run it so they can get there as well. But that very first thing, the first townsfolk that we really went to go talk to and spent some time there, that interaction between our three characters and Padre there was, if I were to hazard a guess, that was loose setting information that Pete helped us fill in through role play. That would be my guess. But wow, just really good. And setting just oozed weird, dreadful West. Like, there were parts where I'm like, okay, this is where the creep factor comes in. It wasn't, but I was waiting for it. Like, I found myself at variant points. Like, is this where it's going to happen? Is this where it's happening? And that is a testament to how it was ran and written.
Yeah, because I think that's a kind of a different angle of what it was that I was saying too, is that the setting was so vibrant in this story that at any point we were kind of interacting with the story on one level. And if at any point, if we had gone a little bit deeper in any of the touch points that we'd hit, I feel like we would have stepped in a puddle of goo and got mess on our shoes, right? Like, I really felt like there was the possibility of us. We were kind of on the edge of stepping in it the entire time.
Yeah.
And that's because of how vibrant the setting was, right? And I think the other thing that kind of really spoke to me about the setting was that I'm trying to figure out how to go ahead and exactly say this. So I'm going to need a little bit of license here. I think that there is always the possibility when you're dealing with a Weird West game, there is a possibility of playing into stereotypes of the true Wild West in a Weird West setting that are not necessarily positive, right? You can play the native versus incursion angle an awful lot, and you can be really heavy on it. You can play on the whole influence of Spanish Mexico and the Wild West really heavily, and there are some elements there that aren't great. So there are some there are some sort of safety tool potholes that you can fall into in a Weird West setting. And so I was really happy to see as we played this that it seemed like those
Experience.
elements were, yeah. What's that?
Experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was really happy to see that when we played this setting, that those situations seemed to be handled very, very well and very, very correctly. Because again, like you and I have talked about some of the things that we've done in our old LARPing days and stuff like that, including some Weird West type things that were probably on the wrong side of that line. And so it is something that I kind of went into like, I wonder how this is going to play. I wonder how he's handling X, Y, and Z. And I was really happy to hear that those situations were handled in a way that it did not avoid them, but it handled them well, which I think is actually better at the end of the day. So
Exactly. I think there's a way to blot out those types of issues so as though they didn't exist, which I think makes stories fall flat to some
yeah,
extent.
for sure.
And I think it does a disservice to, on some level, what games are supposed to be fun, they're supposed to be enjoyable. But for me as a player, what makes games memorable is when they touch on topics that are important. And then I have fun experiencing that.
Yep.
And so for me, because I had known Pete previous to him playing with us, I had no doubt in my mind that he was going to handle these well.
Sure.
We had had several conversations. We gamed next to each other. I saw the groups that sat at his tables. We played next to each other. So without having actually played the adventure or heard specific details about the adventure, I had strong confidence that that was not going to be an issue. That's actually why I felt very confident not reading it before we sat down to play. That's not always something I do. I generally read enough to make sure I'm going to be comfortable with the topic
Yep.
before we put it on air or before we record anything.
Sure.
That's something that you and I both do, really.
Totally. I
So,
mean, there have
yeah,
been times that we have read through adventures that people have sent us and said, "Nope, we're
nope,
not doing
we're
this."
not
Yeah.
good. And nobody will hear what they are because we just leave
Yep.
that
Yep.
stuff alone.
Yeah.
We're not here to crush anybody else's thing, but if it's not our thing, we don't do it.
Right.
Right? So, I felt strongly that I didn't need to take that step with Pete's Adventure, and we were amply rewarded with
Agreed.
a story that handled those things with such a plum that honestly, there are lessons to be learned for content creators about how to handle this type of topic or
Yep.
this type of setting. You know, Watsy steps in it a lot when they
Ah,
talk when they get into trope issues
yeah.
and various settings and that. Um, you know, we often say hashtag call your boys TTJ. I'm saying Watsy hashtag call your boy Pete Saloom because he knows what he's doing when it comes to this stuff.
Yep. Yep. I totally agree. And again, it was nice to go ahead and play in a game where the setting was such a vibrant character, but also did not get in the way of the role play. Like I felt plenty of room to bring my character into the game. I didn't feel like I was fighting against the setting. I didn't feel like I was fighting against the system. I didn't feel like I felt like really I could integrate my character into the game. The immersion was really, really high in this game. And that's kind of the thing that you're really looking for, especially like for a singleton adventure. What you want, if you're looking for kind of like a palate cleanser, or if you're looking to go ahead and introduce like a new game to your table, what's the thing that you want? You want to be able to bring it to your game and have your players really get into it. And the next time you play, to say, hey, when are we playing Savage Worlds again? Instead of playing whatever, when are we playing Savage Worlds again? Like that's what you want if you're gonna
Yeah.
if you're gonna trot something like this out. And it did it in spades. Like I didn't want that story to end. I didn't want it to end right there. I was wondering when the four of us were going to get together and throw dice again. I mean, that was like, and that's kind of exactly what you want from a setting like this. And so,
Yeah.
it was fantastic.
Absolutely. And as importantly, jumping in and to this adventure, uh, or as we concluded this adventure, because I had the next one, which is a different setting entirely, but
Yeah.
Savage Worlds, also by Pete. I was ready for it. Like I'm like, okay, I know what the next one we're gonna do. Uh, when do we put that together?
Yeah.
Because it was so well done, and because it was so much fun, and because there was so much freedom with your character. Look, we sat down with pre-gens. I didn't build this character.
No.
I wrote nothing for this character.
Yeah.
I started with the pre-gen, selected about a day before, so I kind of knew what I was going to do. I was still testing out voices in my head as far as what I was going to do for the voice of the character. And once we had, once we had the recording on,
Yeah.
and everybody had their characters, and we're sitting down, and I'm like, okay, where do I go with this character and how do I do it? And I had an idea going in, and then once Sergio started playing his character, when he started playing the Padre, and
Mm-hmm.
he
Mm-hmm.
he kind of got into his bit, I'm like, that's my touch point. Now I
Yep.
got it. And it's
Yep.
like I had a good idea,
Yeah.
and then the role play with Sergio, like, as far as I'm concerned, one of my favorite characters that I've played that started as a
Sure.
pre-gen, because that character in my head took off in, again, those opening scenes when we first got to town, just because of some of that back and forth banter that
Yeah.
we had amongst each other,
Yep.
and with one single NPC in one single tent at the
Yeah.
far end of town.
Well, and again, I mean, another kind of testament to the construction of this module. Think about, so we each were playing pre-gens, and whenever you're playing pre-gens, especially pre-gens that were as different as the three of us were, the sometimes the challenge is figuring out how these three characters know each other and get along, and why they're working together and why they're traveling together and all that sort of stuff, right? But even though these characters were characters were super different, um, it didn't matter. Like, we figured it out, and part of that was the way that Pete was able to kind of shepherd us through that, right? So
Yep.
he was kind of able to go ahead and like build, okay, these are who you are, so we're gonna go ahead and here's what we're gonna do, and then it just worked. It just worked, and
That's
that's kind of the coolest thing. So
and it
yeah,
should
I
be
could play Finn
noted.
again tomorrow. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and it should be noted that there were other options that we didn't take because there were several NPCs available, and there were a couple that may have had different ties or helped us tie together in a different way, in this adventure. So
yeah,
we selected the characters that we wanted to play, and because there were only three of us playing
yeah,
versus five or more, there were several characters left off the deck, but the adventure still moved smoothly because of the way it was constructed.
yeah,
When you're constructing an adventure and you're providing pre-gens, there's either a it doesn't matter what pre-gens anybody takes, so the adventure is going to happen the way it's going to happen, and there's no real shading, or the adventure doesn't change regardless of who you play, or that certain pre-gens not present means the adventure doesn't run well, right? That didn't happen here. It The characters we played did color the way the adventure went without making it either too easy, too hard, unplayable, or whatever. They just changed the flavor of the game we played and still allowed us to have great characters and great interactions.
yeah, totally.
Again, that's a testament to good adventure construction.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. Really just a fabulous time. And again, for us to be able to go ahead and take a 20 something page module and squeeze 4 or 5 hours of gameplay out of it, that lets you know just how ripe that fruit really is. Like, there was a lot there. And again, I feel like there was a ton of stuff that we could have done that we didn't. I
Yep.
think that because at the end of the day, we were recording an actual play that was going to be on the radio, right? Like, we're like, okay, at some point here, we actually need to get on with the plot. Like, we can't continue to go ahead and kind of
Yeah.
F around in town. But if this were just a game, or if this were like a three seat game or something like that, where we knew we were going to play this for like every week for a month or whatever like that, yeah, absolutely, there was
Yeah.
tons of stuff that we could do.
All
Tons of
kinds
stuff
of
that we
good
could do.
things we could have gotten up to within this module.
Yep. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So
So
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Savage Worlds.
Mm,
I just wanted to briefly say that it's an absolutely fun system. It works really well. It has the benefit of having a meta currency. We talked about it a little bit in our interview with Pete, so I won't dig into that too much in this episode. But I just want to remind folks that it's a great game that has a strong narrative bent and utilizes the concept of a meta currency to help drive that narrative or support that narrative.
Yeah.
And don't sleep on games that have meta currencies.
Yep.
And GMs don't shy away from them. Ask questions, reach out to the community. We talk a lot about the STA community and how we interact with them. Well, guess what? Savage Worlds has this really strong Discord community. They have Facebook groups as well. They do a good job of this kind of outreach as well. Pete has good contacts within that community. Reach out to us, reach out to Pete, say hi, tell him where you heard about his game, tell him where you heard about Savage Worlds,
Yeah.
and if you're at a local convention here in New England, grab a seat at his table. You will not miss out. My only regret about this game and Pete running this game is whenever I'm at a convention, we are almost always running at the
Running at the same
exact
time.
same time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's why I had to get him on the show because I needed to play the game.
Hey, meta currencies are where they're at. I mean, so I think probably one of the next Gamecraft episodes that's going to appear on the video channel here, the next Dr. Homebrew, maybe not the next one, but one soon, is going to be about the new critical fail rules that I have started rolling out at my homebrew game. Because basically what I've done is I've taken critical fails and I've made them a meta currency. Something that basically builds up as they happen in game. They allow me to go ahead and do different things, and basically I can impact basically any D20 roll, store them up. I can introduce new characters, all that sort of stuff. But basically that's the nature of the rules there, to try to go ahead and try out that meta currency. So meta currencies are where they're at. You should figure out how to go ahead and use them more. So yeah. But
excellent.
So all right, everybody. Well, I mean, if you can believe it, that is actually going to be our show for tonight. Couple of quick reminders. Obviously, we totally appreciate everybody that has followed us over here to YouTube. It's been a really good environment for us so far. We're really enjoying making the video content for you here. We hope that you're enjoying it also. So please make sure down below you smash that subscribe button. Subscribers are letting us know how we're doing and how things are performing. And we really want that number to be up. We'd like to get over the 1,000 mark by the end of the year here. So, we're well on our way. I think we've something like our subscriber count has gone up like 8 times or something like that since over the last 3 months. So it's there's a lot of momentum on that, which is why we're doing more video content, because we want to go ahead and know, who was the famous one that said, why do you perform in front of big crowds? Because that's where the people are, kind of thing. So that might be a Barnum and Bailey quote actually. So that's or PT Barnum quote there. So anyway, all that to go ahead and say, subscribe down below. Please hit the notification button so that you know whenever we go ahead and produce more video content, or the occasional live show, which we will do from time to time here on YouTube. If you're looking for other ways to go ahead and support us, obviously the other huge way, we do have a Patreon. You can go check us out at www.patreon.com/ttjourneys. The coolest, what we think anyway, coolest benefit of being one of our Patreon subscribers is that you do get invites to our Patreon only games, which happen every month. Right now it's a lot of STA, but there are going to be some other games coming into that fold very, very soon, and not just from the two of us potentially. So there are some things. There are some things afoot that you may want to go ahead and make sure you get on that roster so that you can take advantage of them when they're there. So
absolutely, anybody who's a scholar of the RPG arts will soon recognize some of those changes as we are putting them into motion. So look forward to seeing you join us. Look forward to having you at our table. Let's throw some dice, y'all. Let's throw some dice.
We're at the end of the day, we're just in it to go ahead and have some fun, because we really feel like that's the way that we can succeed most. So I think that's that's the right way to do it. So that's how we want to go ahead and do it here. So appreciate the time as always, everybody. So next week we're going to be back actually with a review of Dragons of Eternity, the final book in this new trilogy of books by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman in the Dragonlance series. We I think it is safe to say that between Lewanika and I, we have thoughts on that book. So we're going to be recording that episode shortly after this year, and you will be hearing it on the channel next week, as well as on Tuesday. You'll be catching more preservations content as the crew of the Delamas Christian continue to wade through some murky waters, some murky things that the Delamas Christian have got themselves into over the last few months here. So yeah, good times as always. So all right, Mr. Miller, pleasure as always. Nice to see you again.
Josh, take care. I'll
Yep.
see you at the next recording session.
in about 5 minutes here. Yeah.
In about 5 minutes.
So,
Everybody have a great night. Thanks so much for choosing Tabletop Journeys. Have a great night, y'all.
take up.